the road of regret. You see, it was a Christmas season like no other in the village of Alumo. I was just a young boy back then, but I still remember everything so clearly as if it was yesterday. The whole village was buzzing with excitement. Children running around, adults busy preparing food and clothes, and the air thick with the promise of joy and celebration. The Adebayo family was the talk of the village that year, just like they had been every year. Mr. Tunde Adebayo was a man known for his success. His shiny car, always clean and polished, would roll through the village gates each Christmas, and everyone would stop what they were doing just to admire the family's wealth. Tunde's wife, Mariam, was a soft-spoken woman, always in prayer, and their children, Kunle and Zainab, were lively and full of excitement. They were the pride of the village. Everyone admired them, but there was one person who felt differently. That person was Mama Esu, Tunde's stepmother. Mama Esu wasn't like the other women in the village. She was a proud woman, but not proud of her family's success. Oh no. She had two sons, Ifeanyi and Chijioke, both strong and hard-working men, but they were never as wealthy as Tunde. And every Christmas, when the Adebayo family arrived in their shiny car, Mama Esu would mutter curses under her breath, wishing that one day Tunde would be humbled by something greater than his wealth. Mariam is the one who stole my son's fortune. Tunde has everything. What about my boys? Why does God favor him? She would say to herself, her eyes clouded with bitterness. But Mama Esu wasn't the kind to say these things out loud. She kept them locked in her heart, which had started to blacken with jealousy. You see, sometimes the bitterness in one's heart can lead to terrible consequences, and Mama Esu had made up her mind that this Christmas would be different. She would make sure Tunde and his family would not overshadow her sons. It all started one day when Mama Esu met Nana Agbara, a woman feared by many. Nana Agbara was a healer in the village, but she was also known for practicing things some called juju, traditional sorcery. Mama Esu had heard whispers about Nana Agbara's power, and one evening, when the village was quiet, she went to the old healer's hut. The air was thick with incense, and the fire in the corner cast long shadows on the walls. Nana Agbara looked at Mama Esu with piercing eyes and said, "What brings you here, old one?" "Your heart is heavy. Speak, and I will listen." Mama Esu was hesitant at first, but she couldn't keep the anger inside any longer. "I want to stop Tunde and his family from coming back to this village. They come every year, showing off their wealth while my sons struggle. This Christmas will be different," she said, her voice thick with resentment. Nana Agbara smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who knew exactly what to do with that kind of hatred. "I can help you," she said softly, "but there is a price. You must give me something in return." Without hesitation, Mama Esu handed over a piece of Tunde's old shirt. It was from the last time he had visited the village. The shirt was a symbol of his success, and now it would be the key to cursing him. Nana Agbara took the shirt and dropped it into a pot that was bubbling with thick black liquid. She muttered words in a language no one could understand, and the room seemed to grow colder as the witch's spell took hold. "Your wish will be granted," Nana Agbara said, her voice low and ominous. "But remember, the spirit of jealousy is a dangerous one. Be careful what you wish for." Now, back to Tunde and his family. They had been preparing for their annual trip to the village for weeks. The children were excited to see their cousins, and Mariam had been praying for a safe journey. But there was something about this trip that felt different. Something didn't sit right with her. "Mariam, relax. It's just the same as every year. We'll be fine," Tunde would say, always so confident in himself. He hadn't prayed with her, not even once. He thought that because he had so much, nothing could go wrong. On the day they were to leave, there was chaos in the house. Bags were packed, food was prepared, and the children ran around playing and laughing as children do. But Miriam was quiet. She gathered her family and said, "Before we go, let us pray for our safety." Her voice was gentle but firm. Tunde shook his head. "Miriam, not again. We're just going to the village, not the moon. Let me go warm the car," he said, brushing her off. But Miriam knelt by the children, her heart heavy. She whispered a prayer, asking God to protect them on their journey. She prayed for Tunde's stubborn heart, for her children, and for the village they were headed to. As they began their journey, all seemed well at first. The car hummed along the road, the children excited, the sun shining bright in the sky. But then, as they reached the outskirts of the village, something strange happened. Tunde's car, the one that always ran smoothly, suddenly sputtered and stopped. "Not now, please!" Tunde shouted, banging his fist against the steering wheel. He tried to start the car again, but nothing happened. "I told you we should have prayed," Miriam said softly. "Stop it, Miriam!" Tunde snapped. "It's just a car problem. I'll call a mechanic." The mechanic arrived quickly, but after inspecting the car, he said, "Olga, this engine is gone. It won't start unless you replace it." Tunde's jaw dropped. He had driven that car just the day before, and now it was dead. Miriam looked at him calmly and said, "Maybe this is God telling us not to go." Tunde scoffed. "Stop with this talk, Miriam. We're going even if I have to walk to the village." The family decided to take a bus instead, though Tunde was furious. But Miriam, quiet and prayerful, kept her peace. As they boarded the bus, she asked, "Let us pray before we begin the journey." Many of the passengers ignored her, rolling their eyes, but Miriam stood, closed her eyes, and prayed loudly, "Lord, protect us on this journey, protect the bus and everyone inside." Tunde sighed, but there was something about Miriam's prayer that felt different this time, as if there was something more at stake. The road to the village was long, and after some time, the bus picked up speed. But as they neared the halfway point, something unexpected happened. The bus began to shake violently. The driver yelled, "The brakes are failing! I can't stop it!" Panic spread throughout the bus as the passengers screamed. The vehicle careened wildly, swerving out of control, heading straight toward an oncoming tanker. The sound of screeching tires and terrified voices filled the air. But in that moment, Miriam didn't panic. She grabbed her children, holding them close, and whispered, "Lord, save us." It was as if time slowed down. The bus crashed with a deafening bang, metal crumpling, glass shattering. But when the dust cleared, something miraculous had happened. Miriam and the children were untouched, not a scratch on them. Tunde, however, was not so lucky. He had been sitting in the front, and the force of the crash crushed his legs. He was alive, but badly injured. At the hospital, Miriam sat beside Tunde's bed, her heart heavy but grateful. He was alive, though gravely injured. It wasn't long before an old, familiar woman entered the room, the same woman who had warned Tunde not to travel. "Do you remember me?" the woman asked softly. Tunde, weak and in pain, nodded. "Yes, I remember. You warned me." The old woman looked at him with knowing eyes. "It was your wife's prayers that saved you. Your stepmother's jealousy brought you here, but God protected you through Miriam's faith." Tunde's tears flowed freely now as he realized the truth. He had been foolish, dismissing Miriam's faith and the warnings of those who cared for him. He had learned a valuable lesson, the power of prayer and the cost of pride. From that day forward, Tunde never again dismissed Miriam's prayers. Every morning, he was the first to kneel by her side, thanking God for their safety. As for Mama Esu, her bitterness festered in the village, and her sons never rose to the heights she had dreamed of. She would never again curse the Adebayo family, for she had learned, as many of us do, that jealousy can destroy more than it builds. The lesson of that Christmas traveled far, reminding all of us in Olumo that faith, family, and humility were the true treasures in life.